Hey everyone, welcome back to Pushing Film. My name is Hashem, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this photograph by Henri Cartier-Bresson. And maybe a lot of you also know that this photograph was originally cropped from a different image where Cartier-Bresson was actually shooting from behind a wall or a fence. So this photo has come to somewhat epitomize the decisive moment aesthetic in photography, and in my opinion at least, the cropped version that we all know so well definitely works better than the uncropped version. And interestingly enough, Henri Cartier-Bresson was someone who was quite against cropping images, and apparently this is only one of two images that he decided to crop as soon as he made the photograph. So according to this book, this shot supposedly quote-unquote presented itself to him. And what this gets me thinking about is, what if Cartier-Bresson did not take the shot? What if he surrendered to the whole idea that cropping is wrong, you should get it right in camera, or the fact that the fence was in the way and it was just a missed opportunity? But what I see through this is that he at least had some kind of intuitive reaction and decision to take the photo despite being averse to cropping. And what this ties into is the whole idea for this video, in that the camera sees faster than us. And what I also think is that our instinct and intuition is obviously much faster, our subconscious reaction, than our ability to actually think through any given moment. When capturing a scene at 1/250th of a second, there's often little time to overthink in that given moment. Now, a lot of what I'm talking about mainly applies to candid genres of photography like street and documentary and things like that, but I think that can also be applied to other genres of photography as well. For example, with this scene, I was actually just walking past, not really expecting any particular thing to happen, but as this kid climbed up, I started to develop some sense of anticipation that something might happen and that he might jump. Now naturally, some sense of anticipation was important with this shot, but still, there wasn't much time to overthink what I was doing, to make sure I had the perfect settings, the right shutter speed, enough depth of field, or to overthink my composition. So as you can see, there is a bit of blur, and in fact in the original photograph, the horizon wasn't straight, and I fixed that up in the photo that you're seeing now. And of course, this style of reactive shooting can leave you with many mistakes and missed opportunities, but I think it's important to embrace those and turn them into learning experiences. At least for myself, when I shoot in this way, I end up with a lot of shots that are out of focus, or sometimes I'm too slow to react, or the shots are mistimed, or badly composed, combination of the above. Or I overthink and plan and end up with something contrived or cliche. But slowly through this practice, you'll learn to hone your instincts and your skills with the camera. And sometimes even the blurry or imperfect shots might end up working because they still have a great connection to the incident and that sense of moment. And another bonus I think is that repeatedly shooting in this way and responding to your first instincts in photography is a great way to find your voice and figure out what your style might be. So let's look a little bit deeper into this whole idea that the camera sees faster than we do. So at least for me personally, the more I embrace and trust that instinct out in my photography, the more I find unexpected elements later that I didn't notice initially. So in effect, the camera was able to see what I didn't have time to. And even if you do have time to slow down a little bit and study a scene, the small nuances often don't become clear until later. For example, with this shot, my attention was instantly drawn to this tender moment, but only later was I able to study and see the nuances and the differences between the expressions of these two teenagers and the body language, what kind of implications that might have had between them, all the additional characters in the scene. But maybe to some degree, my instinct in that moment did notice it, and the camera obviously captured it and saw that. Likewise, in this photo, I didn't notice that the two girls running would look at the camera and gesture until after I'd already clicked the shutter. Nor did I notice during this moment all the interesting little interactions and gestures going on outside of what initially had my main attention, which was the guy jumping off the railing. But after looking at the scan, I found that all those extra elements really added to the scene. And just being present in that scene and open to the incident and trusting that instinct allowed me to capture that in the first place. And that's what this brings me to. I think it's really important to be present and let that intuitive, almost peripheral vision have a say in how you compose, even if you can't accurately keep track of all the different elements within a scene. And in this next photo, I didn't realize that the girl would suddenly pick her nose until seeing the shot later. Or with this shot, the depth of the pain, trapped expression on this girl's face, the somber look on this man's, conversely the happy reaction of the child in this moment, that any of the people in these photographs would engage and make eye contact with the camera just as I clicked the shutter. I didn't initially notice the dynamic between the characters in these scenes, or what was truly going on in this scene until after seeing the shot later. So this reinforces to me that by being present, you're more prepared for the unexpected. And the best way to get better at predicting behavior is to practice, to observe and understand, So that's at least something that I've been trying to take on board lately, and if you do any kind of candid photography, this might work for you too. But even if you're working with the model or nature, there's always the chance of something unexpected happening, some tiny moment that you, through being present, would be able to notice and the camera is able to capture. Even if there's nothing inherently dynamic within a scene, being present can often open you up to other opportunities. With this shot, for example, I'd actually first stopped to just admire and study the dusty, hazy light until a new element suddenly entered the scene and I made the shot. Again, anticipation plays into it, but oftentimes that first shot is better than the second when you may have had more time to plan and compose and think about settings. Or better yet, that first reaction can actually lead you into an even better moment soon after, as with this scene here. So in summary, to quote Joel Meyerowitz from his book, How I Make Photographs, photography happens that fast, right in front of your eyes. When a magician shows you how he did a trick, you suddenly see what you hadn't before, even though you were looking right at it. So I hope this video was a bit of food for thought and it encouraged you to get out there, make some mistakes and trust your intuition. It might help you take steps towards finding your stylistic voice, or at the very least, have a little bit more fun being present with your camera and perhaps noticing things that you never used to. So thanks for watching this episode of Pushing Film. I'll see you on the next one, and I hope you have a great day.